Okay.
Nah,
No, still bad.
it's like the slightest bit better, but it's
Yeah. So weird. I'm like, maybe I need to talk closer to the camera. No, it's not.
no, it's just like it's not picking up. It's like it sounds like I said, everybody like it's like you know.
Hang on, it's one of mine. Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. We are recording.
Hey,
Technical difficulties. Sorry, Michelle.
every time. It's okay. One day we're gonna be like, wow, this is so smooth. We get on and we jump
Maybe.
as a goal. Like get on meeting, start with no
Can that be a goal? Yes.
everyone's on. We can all of our devices work.
Wouldn't that
That'd
be
be
great?
It would be great.
It's really just an opportunity for us to test our patience and our response.
I know.
Woo.
Okay. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Riley healthy?
He's healthy. Yes. Off to
Thank
school.
goodness. So
Yes.
nice.
For that.
One less problem. And when's your next appointment for your foot?
A week from yesterday.
A week. What's
The
so
26th. Tuesday. Oh,
Oh.
nope. Tuesday, the 26th. Let's go with
Okay.
days. I probably shouldn't try to do days.
I
Today's
know,
Thursday.
right?
I thought yesterday was Wednesday. No, wait. Yesterday was I thought yesterday was whatever. I don't know. The 26th, Tuesday of next week.
Okay, got it. Oh, okay. Well, today, I'm hoping that we can spend a little bit of time, doing basically your self 360.
Okay.
I did send out, the email invitation to the raters that you selected,
Okay.
and you had talked to all of them already, right? The ones that you said,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I asked them if they could to have it back by next Wednesday.
Okay.
I don't think it takes them a ton of time. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I'll do a follow-up with them, at the beginning of next week.
Yes. Great.
Just a reminder. Yeah.
Did you do any reminders?
What's that?
Do you want me to do any reminders?
Nope. I got
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Because at this point, I just want to kind of keep you out of it for the sake of confidentiality for them, that, just that they know
Yes.
they're safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so today, and let me pull up the document that will work.
Did I pull mine too?
Yeah, you can pull up whatever you need. I was going to look at, we can definitely utilize your previous 360, this one.
Yeah.
Where you talked about yourself. And I recognize, because you've had the opportunity to look over the details, you may be also tempted to kind of talk about those because you've gotten feedback recently from other raters, right? But try to focus on just the part, and I think it's on your 360 that you did in-house. It's called Your View, right? Your View is the self category. But then you and I are going to also just talk through the questions I asked you.
Okay.
Just kind of, I would get, I sent you that survey. You went through those questions. I did add a few more for your raters after we talked.
Oh, good.
So I'll probably ask you those today, so I can capture your answers too. And then we can just kind of talk through maybe more color on why you rated yourself that way, and that's what I would like to get. But on your end, let me pull this up real quick. Hold on. Let me pull it up.
Like I was even wondering, like, if I retook my 360 right now, I guess it would probably be the same. Yeah. I mean, I haven't been that much time.
You mean the one that you took previously, this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
What you would answer?
Yeah. But I feel like probably.
I think, give me some color on that today, because maybe it's fair to say, this was given to you back in March or May. Yeah.
No, March probably.
Yeah, it says on the front, it says March through May. So I'm guessing it kind of was, that's when the process took place. And, you have learned some, go ahead.
It was like 6 months ago.
Yeah. So you have learned some things from this. And although it doesn't look like they put a development plan into place for you, like it looks like there was an opportunity to, did you get something separate on that or no? Okay. So that's great, because that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, that is great.
it looks like kind of just it stopped short of gave you feedback, but no forward action, right?
Yes.
So you're right. Actually, I kind of want to retract my earlier statement saying don't mention the things that you learned, because you may have learned it and put it into action. You might rate yourself differently now. So let's take that into consideration as you're going through if you have a different opinion.
Where section am I supposed to be going to?
Well, let's start. I'm going to start by talking to you through the questions that I asked you. So let's start there and don't worry about what you have to look at yet.
Okay.
And I'm going to add in one of the questions I added in. First of all, are you feeling ready to jump in? Are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling so ready to jump
Anything? Okay. Okay. So, one of the questions I added for your raters was, what are 3 or 4 words that you would use to describe Michelle as a leader? And so I'd love to hear your answer on that. How would you describe yourself in 3 or 4 words?
That's always so hard.
It is.
A leader. Can action-oriented be a hyphenated one word?
Sure. Uh-huh.
And then this is where I want to like give you 3 and ask you to pick my 3rd one.
Well, you can give me 3 and then I'll ask. Yeah.
Okay. Like I feel like I need to like choose 3 words that hit like different parts of, like I was either gonna say energetic or intuitive or people-y. That's not a word. Okay, wait, I said a leader.
Well, and it's really describing you as a leader. So leader's already in the word. 3 or 4 words describe you as a leader.
Oh, okay, great. But like that's as a leader is my role, but a leader is like the word I would use just like in like I am, because you can have people that are in leadership roles that are not leaders.
Okay, fair, yeah.
So I feel like I'm like, since I was 5, I was like the leader of the pack,
Yeah.
versus some people are in leadership roles that aren't.
Yeah.
What was my second word that we did?
You said action-oriented, energetic, and intuitive. And leader.
Okay, maybe I'll use intuitive instead of action. And then I was thinking empathetic, but I have to kind of tap into that sometimes. Like I feel like I'm empathetic, but I feel like that doesn't get in the way of like my action that needs to happen.
Okay. And I'm just taking notes, that's why I'm looking down, so you know. Okay, so I have action-oriented, energetic, intuitive, and leader. Is that a good set of words? Did I miss anything?
No, that'll be good.
Okay. This next question was that he or she recognizes how emotions affect performance, unaware of what they're feeling, and you kind of put yourself right in the middle. Tell me about that. And maybe that connects with what you said about empathetic even, I don't know.
Yes, how emotions affect the way you are as a leader, right?
Of what, how emotions affect performance, unaware of what they're feeling.
Yeah, so I think that kind of like marries the intuitive, like emotionally aware of the like situation, taking into consideration how other people will potentially react to maybe information they're going to be given or how they're coming to the situation, like what emotions they're coming with. So I feel like that is all considered in the delivery of whatever I need to do as a leader, but it doesn't feel so heavy that I'm not able to act considering the department as a whole.
Mm. And so you said I am emotionally aware, and this particular question is asking
About
um,
me.
mhm.
Okay. And why did I put it in the middle then? Why did I put my,
And it's never, rarely, sometimes, often, consistently, and you put this as sometimes.
okay, sometimes. I feel like I have to check in to know where I am
Hmm.
emotionally. I feel like I've survived the past 39 years, like being able to do and function regardless of like whatever the emotion is or whatever like the situation is. So whether that's good or bad, like I know it's like if you're touching the hot stove, like how are you actually still like holding the baby and feeding it if it's hot, you know? So it's like, am I just totally disassociating with it so that I can get my like action items done?
Mm.
Or is it that I'm like putting it into perspective of like, well, this needs to get done. So I know my hand's melting, but so I think that there has been some growth the last 5 years in understanding that like, hey, your hand is on fire. Like there is that emotion, but I could do more work on like, how is it really affecting my leadership performance? Like, I think I do such a good job of suppressing and putting it in a bubble to be able to go here, but am I, right? Like, is it affecting those things?
Very good. Yeah. Is it truly suppressed, right?
Yeah. Is it like really in that bubble or is it seeping out?
Okay. That's great. Thank you. So the next one, it says Michelle strives to meet a standard of excellence, looking for ways to do things better, setting challenging goals, and taking appropriate risks. And you marked yourself a 4 out of 5, so that was an often.
Yes. Now you want me to talk more about that?
Yeah,
If
you don't mind.
Yeah. Okay, wait, say it one more time.
Yeah. Michelle strives to meet a standard of excellence, looking for ways to do things better, setting challenging goals, and taking appropriate risks. And you put a 4 often.
Like sometimes I see ways to improve things too much. And that might not be our goal. Like we're coming together to whatever, and I've already seen like ways to improve processes and how things were set up or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, put that aside. Like we're here to XYZ. Okay, what was the last part? Because that's what I was initially going to comment on. I was like, oh wait, I need to talk.
It said, meeting a standard of excellence, looking for ways to do things better, setting challenging goals, and taking appropriate risks.
Yeah. So then like the first part again is like perfection, like wanting everything to be perfect. So that's like what I consider that like excellent, like have it be excellent. Like everything has to have, like everything as a whole needs to be perfect. And then setting challenging goals. Like I'm not afraid to make changes to achieve that excellent. The change doesn't scare me if there's a potential to improve it. And then appropriate risk in that like you consider more than just the one thing that you want to improve, right? So it's like, well, that process could just be fixed. That would make it excellent. It's like, okay, we got to bring it back to like, what was the purpose of this meeting, whatever. So it's like, this might not be an appropriate time to do that. So kind of rein some of that back in.
We did kind of consider it in the bigger picture. Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay.
Like 5 questions in one. I felt like I had to.
I know. I see that now. I can see how it could be, depending on how you feel about improvement, setting goal. Those are very different things.
Yeah.
That's a lot under the word of excellence, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people might look at that and go, oh, those are just suggestions of what excellence means. But for you, you look at each one and wanted to kind of think through them.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's great. Okay, the next one, and stop me if you want to expound anymore. I just kind of want to get a feel for where you, okay.
Great.
Michelle is flexible in dealing with change and open to changing her ideas based on new information or changing needs. She can manage multiple demands, and you put yourself as a 5 on that.
Interesting. As you were just saying it, I was like, maybe that should be like a 3.
Okay, tell me
A
why.
2 or a 3. I don't know. Okay. So I guess it's the back to me like cutting up the phrase. The first part, I was like 2 or 3. And then as you finished reading, I was like, okay, maybe I can do that a little bit more. So read it again and I'll like,
So the flexible in dealing with change.
yeah, flexibility.
Yeah, so it's flexible dealing with change, open to changing their ideas based on new information and changing needs, manage multiple demands. Maybe you can tell me about each. So the first one being flexible and dealing with change, and that period.
Yeah. So flexible dealing with change or flexibility at all, I have to have like buy-in. And so like it's a lot harder for me to be flexible if it doesn't feel like it's the right thing.
Okay.
And then
The next one, do you want me to read the next one for you?
sure.
Okay. Open to changing your needs based on, hold on. Open to changing your ideas based on new information and changing needs.
Yeah. So yes. So I feel like that's where I'm like, okay, yes, I can do that.
Okay.
If I have the information, like the information piece is what is important.
Goes back to what you just said.
Yes. And then the multitasking part was the last one, or what's it?
Managing multiple demands. Yeah.
Yes. That's where I feel like more of the 5 is. Like I'm like multiple demands. Yes. Like I feel like I can hold multiple things and be like taking care of one and still having all these other plates. Like I can have a very full tray, but I feel like that's almost 2 separate things. My flexibility and my managing multiple things.
Yeah,
It's
I
kind
can see that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the tie together, if we're talking about kind of your openness, right? When you're managing multiple demands, maybe I can ask you this follow-up question. When you're managing multiple demands, what happens to your flexibility and openness? How do you perceive that it is impacted? Maybe not, but.
I would say it is probably tightened because I probably have more specific goals within the smaller pieces. And so to like open up this like dreamy world where we can be like, I'm less flexible and open to have those conversations because we've got like, there's so many things happening.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, I kind of have an idea of where this might need to go. I'm open to have the conversation with you. But if you start going over here, I need you to bring it back in because we have to go over these things because I've got to get to the next thing because there's lots of things.
Okay.
Is that helpful? Is that like enough?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and I think the things that you're sharing, I mean, again, whether we get to this or not, it's fine because we're going to have a whole next week. We got to have a whole meeting on reviewing your 360. But I think, and then of course, what's nice is that after we do that, we'll come up with a development plan. And then we get to coach through that development, which is great. But I think the information that you're providing right now is really helpful because one, you'll get to see, you're saying this is how I think I show up, and then you'll get to hear this is how I show up. Do those match? Is there a mismatch? And if there's a mismatch in such a way that you want to make change, it might be we're changing how you're perceived, like you may have to change behaviors to change perception, or you may have to change communication to change expectations, et cetera, right? There we'll be able to look at those things. So, just knowing that you are always going to be managing multiple demands in your job. And from what I know of from talking to you and Amanda about Le Bonheur and just kind of the staffing needs, et cetera. And so, you know, and knowing how becoming aware, going back to the first question, becoming emotionally aware of when I'm managing demands, this happens inside of me. And then I show up in this way that's different than how I might normally show up. It does alter, right? Because if you say, okay, I'm a 5 and managing multiple demands and maybe even really flexible, but that flexibility number gets shrunk when I'm managing multiple demands, then what does that feel like to my team and how do I manage? Yeah, so talk about all that. So it's really helpful, really.
As you're talking about that, this is where I would really value a leader who can clearly communicate her expectations, or we could have more of even like a team approach, because I don't feel like I have the freedom to say like, okay, well, these are deadlines. Like I want to have this or this done by this time. And so then I could focus on those things, and maybe I could open my flexibility of like input, but instead I just feel like I'm having to take care of probably more than what is my responsibility, but no one has defined my responsibility. And so because of that, in my role, I have become like, it's a survival skill, kind of like there's no way all of this is going to get taken care of or done. And so I could see the perception of people saying like, oh, well, she's not flexible, or she, whatever the input could be. And it's like, okay, so then maybe, I mean, I can communicate to the people that report to me, but I also need to have somebody that can give me, you know, like my plate needs to be more appropriate, my tray or whatever, because I'm just trying to take on more. And I don't even know what things I'm taking that aren't mine. Like I'm just seeing it all. And I'm like, this all needs to be done. Nobody else is doing it. It hasn't been done. And so now I have nobody prioritizing it for me. I have nobody. So I'm taking on more than what's mine. I'm trying to prioritize it. It all needs to be done. Half of it fire. Like, how do I then? And so maybe that's also where I feel a little suffocated in my current role and why I need to be considering something else.
Yeah. I hear you, like frustration for sure. And just that you kind of feel, left out there to dry a little bit, you know, just needing support and being able to ask Amanda, what are my top priorities? And then being able to know that if I do those, I'm like, and the other things aren't getting done, that's acceptable.
Somebody else can do them.
Right. And so, so that's fair. Maybe that's something we can talk about. Like you said, that, if you're staying in your current job, you know, having that conversation, preparing for a conversation with Amanda that says, I have too much and I don't know what's priority based on what you think the organization needs.
But the question is then, I can write the list of what's too much. But then if I don't continue to identify those things, they won't be identified and they won't be taken care of. So it's not like I'm saying we're both aware of everything that needs to be done and I'm just taking it all. It's like I'm also aware of things that if I don't, nobody else is gonna be aware of, nobody else can take care of them, and that's not gonna be helpful.
Yeah. And they're,
you know, like
and are they all things that have to be done?
Are they all things that have to be done?
Or are they like, and I guess we can get into that later, but that's a question I would have is, are they, is the completion of those things, preference or critical need?
Yeah. So like example would be like, there's no process for submitting PTO, something like that. And it's like, but if I don't identify it and I don't do something with it, then we're just going to continue in the same way it's been done for the past 20 years. And that's all working. So it's things like that. So I'm like, okay, I could stick to my 3 things that we've discussed are mine to do, but then the culture of our department and things continue because there's all this frustration around not having processes and procedures or expectations or accountability or so. does it have to be done? No, but then we're going to continue to perpetuate the frustrations of the department.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
Okay, that was a lot for that one question.
No,
Sorry.
no, it's really helpful. Like I said, it'll give us good, meat to kind of consider when we're into the coaching.
Okay.
Okay. Michelle is able to keep disruptive emotions and impulses in check and is effective in stressful or hostile conditions.
What did I say? 4?
Oh, so sorry. I should have told you that. You did.
Okay. I agree. Yeah, I feel like emotion in the situation that could be filled of emotion, like I can stay in my own like emotion. Like I don't need to join in on it. I don't need to like change it with a different emotion. Like I don't need to trump it, or I feel like it can just be like, I don't know. I feel like some people very much take that with them, or they become part of it, or I don't just, so yes, I feel like two people can be arguing in front of me, or like I can be kind of attacked. I feel like sometimes it's like, I wish I had more time to think through some, but I'm not going to like have this at an angry response or whatever. Oh, okay. Wow. Let's, talk about it.
So, I mean, it sounds like, really good emotional management of your own and good separation from other people's emotional reactions, recognizing that like that's theirs, which is good. You're not catching other
right
emotions.
Yes.
Which is great. How, as a follow-up question, how do you feel you do in terms of what I would kind of call attuning to their emotions? So if they have this emotion, kind of, I think Brene Brown calls it like getting in the well with them, right? Like, like be able to, how do you feel you do that?
Yeah. I feel like, I do it better in my personal life than my professional life, because in my personal life, I feel like I know my people and how they would want to be joined more than people at work. So sometimes people at work will bring me into things they feel like they need to like let me into part of it just because, but they don't want you to jump in. It's like, I just need you to know this, without being emotionally aware themselves enough to say it in such a way. But like, I need you to know this is why I'm late, but don't ask any more about it, or like, don't follow up like, hey, is everything okay? Like, they don't want that. Like, that's considered crossing whatever professional boundary that everyone has different lines. Like, I'm very open. If I tell one person I'm sick or Riley's sick and the whole department knows, that's great. Like, I want that. But some people very much so don't want that. And so it's really hard. Like, I have not figured out what that balance looks like, because I'm like, I don't know and maybe I need to learn communication skills of just like, hey, what are you comfortable with me doing in this situation? Like, or can I follow up with you on this? Or that is really hard. I don't know. I don't know. Is that answered enough? I think that's where I'm just, I feel like I can do it because I do it in my personal life. I just don't feel like I have a great understanding of what's appropriate. And so I feel like I kind of, right now, what I'm doing is, depending on the person and depending on my, like, how long I've known them, my relationship with them, what I know of them, is kind of how I do it.
Okay. I think that's probably a healthy guidance. And I think what you said is really smart too. I like that you said, maybe I need to just ask them.
Yeah.
I think I like that idea of you saying, hi, whoever, like, as we're in our one-on-one, when things come up that are, in your personal life or in your world, and you share that with me, is there a boundary for you? Do you want me to follow up with you? Is there, is there a norm? Just asking them, I think, is really helpful for you.
Yes.
And you can do it in the moment too, like you described. Yeah. And I think really attunement can always be done. So if attunement is more just one sentence saying, that you like, you understand them. Yeah, I see and hear you and I'm with you. It doesn't have to be following up for information,
Yeah.
because like you said, sometimes that can feel like I don't want to go there. I might, in the workplace because I might cry, or
Yeah.
I just need you to know because you're my boss. But still having an expression of empathy in just a sentence is a great gift. So yeah.
I do think where I really struggle is, well, I don't know. I'm like, I can do it. Okay, so if somebody comes in and it's like obviously catastrophic, so sad, I could put my agenda aside, right? We'll just talk about that. Like that's so horrible. Like it would be a no brainer. Like we're not going to go through our agenda, but it's the things that like they come in that are catastrophic that I don't feel like is catastrophic,
Mm,
that I have a hard time putting my agenda aside to just listen to those things.
mm,
And that's where I'm like, okay, where I could be learn that better, but then I'm also like, as your leader, I can hear and see that, but I also like, do I need language to say like there's still other things that have to get done? Like every time you come in, we can't be having a hangnail and then putting the agenda aside because
mm,
like what is that balance of like, I get if your cat died, you might obviously be very more attached to that cat than I am. And I feel like I can move on, but maybe you don't need to, right? Like, so I can have that, but I don't know, like, where's that balance? But you come in with something else that we both agree is really big. Obviously, I'm putting my agenda aside, but sometimes I feel like
mm,
I would never get anything done. People just, and I do thought like one thing I know, people are like, I need you to be a better listener. I need you to be better. Okay. So I'm like, I want to be a better listener. Um, and sometimes their definition of listening is different than I would think, but part of that is because of my listening is the same thing with my flexibility, and that this is not my only meeting all day because so many things are happening. But I
mm,
feel like I do a lot of like biting my tongue and thinking in my head, this is important to them. Let them just talk. But sometimes
mm.
people just aren't concise enough, you know? And so I'm just keeping that all in. Anyways, this is just like gone a million directions. But I feel like that's what happens with some of this emotional stuff. Like they just want to tell me all about their kid and their kid's school and their da da da. And I'm like, am I the only person that you have to tell these things to? Like, I don't know. And that's hard for me because I'm like, I need that to build trust and I need that for all these things. But I feel like I don't have the time to do all
Mm.
the because my leadership hasn't set what is mine to do. There we go.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saying oftentimes the demands on you, and therefore the lack of time that you have, kind of usurps your ability to be empathetic and available and listen
Yes.
in the way that you know is helpful.
Yes.
I didn't hear you say in a way that you enjoy necessarily,
Yeah.
but in your personal life you do enjoy that. So it
Yeah.
sounds like
Enjoy it if I didn't have my to-do list.
competing priorities. Yeah.
Yes, is
Okay.
always gonna. So like I feel like I want to be in that, but my stomach is like in a huge knot because I'm thinking about this is taking 45 minutes for me to hear about your child's play and like,
Mm.
and I want, and I do care. Like when we have those conversations, like outside of work, if we like go to dinner with a few people, I love that because I have I don't have, but at work, it just feels very pressing.
Mm. Remind me, how many direct reports do you have
25.
directly reporting to you?
Yes.
Mm. Okay.
I can count that exact number again, but that's my I'm pretty sure.
And do you have I know there's people under you that are managers or supervisors. Did they have any management responsibility?
They don't have anybody that reports to them.
Okay. And is that a structure that's determined by the organization or by you?
Yes, the organization.
Okay. And do you have any authority or ability to alter that?
No, they'd probably have to become their leads. They'd have to become supervisors. So in the Methodist system, you're like a clinician, and then the steps can be lead, supervisor, manager, director. And only managers and directors I think maybe supervisors can have direct reports, but leads can't. And we've had to fight to even get lead positions.
Mm. And
So
you're a director or a manager?
I'm a manager,
Okay.
director.
Amanda's a director. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That helps. Thank you. That was helpful to.
Yeah. But
to-
Amanda, like, I report to Amanda, the lactation consultants. So like 2 full-time, a couple of part-time, and then the formula tech. So another like 4. So she has less than 12.
Okay.
Way more manageable. Anyways.
Okay. That's good. That's helpful. Okay. Let's go to the next one.
Okay.
Michelle is persistent in pursuing goals in the face of obstacles and setbacks, and you gave yourself a 4.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that. Or if there's nothing to share, you don't have to, but
Yeah. I think the setting the goals is probably going to be more important, because if I have a defined goal, I'm for sure going to meet that. I feel like right now there are not necessarily defined goals. And so all of it is like a big task list.
Mm.
So none of us necessarily know the exact, like, what is the goal after this week, or what is going to be accomplished, especially because things just keep on popping up that like, that's now trumping this, that's now trumping that I think we would all have a hard time saying like, was the goal accomplished? It's like, what was the goal? What was like, so that's a problem.
Mm. And who sets the goals?
Nobody.
I mean, who would be the person that should be setting the goals on the team?
On what goals they are, what goals are to be set. Like I probably could set some goals. I mean, I do set some goals, and I feel like I've had to a little bit go outside of my role to set some of them, because they're not. And as I've like been in my role now, and I feel like it's long enough to be like, oh, that's an expectation that I can communicate to the department, and they can know that that's what their goal is to meet. Like, I feel like if you have a goal and an expectation kind of like align,
Mhm.
then they know like, this is what's expected of me. This is one of our goals. Like, this is what we're trying to get to. But that just has never been done.
Mm.
And wait, I shouldn't say never been done. The things that have been set as priority and goals are things that the department has viewed as really like, things that just seem so little and petty, and there's like big things out there that we need goals for. So it's like, yeah, I don't know if that's helpful. Like, just
Yeah.
staffing, it is obviously a big concern. The culture of our department is a big concern. Lots needs to be done. And then other leaders in our department are walking around like, hey, there's a fridge in that break room, and there's a fridge in that break room. Like, I'm taking everyone's input. Who wants what fridge where? So the goal is at the end of the day to figure out which fridge is going to be where. And we're like, just make that decision and go fry a bigger fish, please.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's part of the culture too. So it's like wanting to.
Yeah.
So we don't have goals. We all need, I think all 4 of us on the leadership team, which is now 3, but the 2 leads, myself and Amanda, could all be making goals within our roles that like affect the department. Need to clearly communicate them and have their input and assistance in reaching them. But there's no goals. We don't have, I don't know. What are my goals? My goals are to make sure we have enough staff to take care of patients, and kind of that things are running smoothly as much as possible. That's my goal right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard. And you guys haven't really ever as a team made goals. Is that correct? Like, you don't have a way of doing that?
We have come together as a team of the 4 of us leaders, because I asked that happened. And then we have made little like to-do lists with each other. So like, hey, let's come back together and do some division of responsibility work, because we don't know who's doing what kind of, like, I know what I'm doing because I've made it up. I've asked my leads, I've assigned them things to do.
Mm-hmm.
None of us know what the director necessarily does. So like our goal maybe in that has been, those are more like short-term goals though, you know, like, let's do this. Okay, but it's always had to come more from either me or one of the leads asking me, and then me being the voice of like, okay,
Mm,
I lead the meeting of the four of us.
okay. Okay. And I mean, I hear you, and I can sense behind all of that just such a frustration with your director.
Yeah.
And
Which is,
just
I feel like, I mean, yeah, I feel like it doesn't have to be this way, but it is this way. And I'm trying to figure out what my role is in it as we function this way.
mm,
I would always have an agenda, but like I'm coming into a meeting that I think it shouldn't be mine. So I don't want to like overstep any boundaries. But then when we get in there and everyone's looking at me and nothing's in depth, and then like I'm jumping in to lead a meeting, but I still feel a little weird. Like, oh, do I start bringing the agenda to the meeting? Like this shouldn't really be my meeting.
so
Anyway.
have you ever asked Amanda her preference on who leads it? Or do you think there's just an assumption from her even that you will?
I think she wants the like credit for the meeting being potentially hers, but she knows that I will.
Mm,
And I will even like kind of sit back to like, I want to be like respectful of like but then it's like, okay, it's not really going anywhere, or like she'll get a call, so she has to step out, so that I have to start, you know, just like there's always, so
Would
that,
it-
and then, go ahead.
would it be feasible to ask her if it would be helpful? So if you change your wording and say, hey, I know you have so much, going on, and would it be helpful if I plan an agenda for this meeting?
Okay, I'm texting her now because she's called me twice.
Oh,
On phone with Karen.
we'll be done in what, 10 minutes?
Apologize that she's called twice. I didn't text her last time, so.
No worries. I didn't.
Okay.
So
My calendar is locked, so she could look at that. But would it be feasible to ask her what? That's where I lost you.
just to ask her, instead of going in with ambiguity
Yeah.
and not planning and not wanting to usurp her need
Yeah.
to feel like that's her meeting, to say, hey,
Would you like me to create?
would it be helpful? I've been giving some thought around this meeting. Would it be helpful if I create an agenda for us for those meetings going forward?
Mhm.
And if there's something specific that you want to cover, we can make sure we have, that could be built in or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Then that way I feel like you have, that way you have some clarity rather
Yes.
than kind of like,
Doing what? Yeah.
yeah.
That's helpful. So that's the smaller meeting. Our bigger meeting, which I know we're not doing goals, but our bigger meeting, I feel like I need to tell you this now. Our bigger once a month staff meetings, which we share, her and I, it's 1 hour, and we don't have it time allocated, but she insists to go first, which fine. She spends a lot of time talking about things that are not pertinent. And then it gets to me and I have to fly through the things that do need a lot more time. And I've gotten this feedback from staff, and I've gently tried to say different things to her about like, can I share my slides with you ahead of time? Or I've asked specifically, can I go first? Anyway, so I think that's even a bigger issue than the other, is just, and I've also asked, can I have a separate meeting? Like, I was like, can I just do like my meeting with the team? Like, I have no meetings with my team by myself.
Mm-mm.
Well, that's weird. Like, we have our once a month department meeting, and she reports more like hospital financials and things that like the department probably wants to know in an email. but they don't want your long explanation that really doesn't make sense.
Is
to
that,
them.
have you collected that feedback? Like
Yeah.
in a, you know, a sterile way and presented it?
And that's come up on our associate feedback survey. And I'll even ask like, hey, could we consider putting some of that in an email so that we can, but then she just finds some like, oh, this Facebook video, I really want, it's just going to encourage everybody. We're going to watch this 3-minute video at the beginning. And then she wants to talk about it. And and I think for the majority of us who feel we're on fire, feel like that's time that we're like, we have so many things that need to be discussed. And like, we appreciate, and this is where we would say we balance each other, right? She's very like touchy feely, wants to be but it's not received well because these other things aren't happening. So it's like, how do you, yes, that's a sweet story, but I don't know. So
Do you and she have a planning meeting to prep for that?
No, this is where we're doing everything on fire. Like, we're coming together and we're like, and every once in a while, like I'll tell her something like, hey, I really think this needs to be like, the department's looking for this. And like, maybe could you speak on this? Or like, I've kind of given her some topics before. And then I'll say like, oh, and these are some things I might need to talk about or whatever. And then she's like, oh, I probably should talk about that one. I'm like, okay. Like, it's just weird. I don't know.
Are you, do you have the autonomy to have a meeting with your team that's not that same one?
I've asked Amanda if we could do that, like by splitting our meetings.
Well, I'm saying keep the one you have, but are you allowed to
do another?
Are you allowed? Well, and I'm just even thinking, I mean, like I have I, run the HR department here. And so I have a team and we do an HR huddle for 30 minutes on Monday and 30 minutes on Friday. And they're just huddles like, and because what I find is they're in an organization that's moving and is agile, there's a lot of information. And it's helpful, I think, for them to get time with me to move obstacles, but also communicate information. And it's not this massive meeting. So I was just wondering if you felt the freedom to like huddle your team to disperse information. And I'm not saying twice, I'm just kind of in general, do you feel freedom to do that without like having to make it this monthly meeting or,
Yeah. So I think the hard thing, and I might have to like split the team to do it. The hard thing is finding a time. We have set aside Wednesdays 12 to 1. That's supposed to be like our quote unquote meeting time. And we do like the 4th Wednesday of the month is our staff meeting. The 2nd Wednesday of the month, we have like a shared governance council. And then the other Wednesdays are supposed to be like updates on people's specific, like how they're treating the cardiology patients, how they're treating the GI patients, or like journal club education. And that's what I've said, could I take one of those Wednesdays?
Those are her meetings.
No, they're like our meetings, like all like our department meetings. One of the leads currently has she's the shared governance chair, and those like rotate. We vote in somebody in the co-chair. Yeah, so we do huddle every day at 2:00, but it's 5 to 7 minutes, and it's mostly inpatient, and it's to go over like
cases.
Like what needs to happen, and it's not the whole department because everyone's not in the same office, which is also key. And then some people have clinic at certain times. So that's where I'm like, maybe I do need to try to do an outpatient and inpatient, but it would have to be a very strategic day. And then some people are like, do their remote day. Like, how do you do all that?
Yeah, great point. One thing that comes to mind is just I want to ask you is I'd love to get a feel for your organizational structure within your team. Like, I know you have the two leads, but also like who's inpatient, who's whatever, whatever your breakdown is. So that'll be helpful just at some point for us to talk through so I can get a picture when you're talking about those things, like how many people and and then the other thing Do you guys use any asynchronous communication besides email? Like, do you use videos like Loom or things like that?
No, you mentioned that.
Oh, I
No.
did? Okay.
We do, like you said, other than email. I mean, we use Vocera, which is like a HIPAA compliant texting application for like patient sensitive stuff. Like this patient needs to be
Nice.
seen, but not like another way for the department to communicate. Like we communicate with each other
Yeah,
this way.
yeah. Okay, that's good. Let's keep talking about that.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna keep your time because I know Amanda's looking for you too. And so we didn't get through all of these, obviously. And you don't have them in front of you. But so maybe we can go over them at another time. Maybe it's even, as I look at the calendar, let me look real quick. I think we added more time.
We did next week.
Yeah. And I think that could be some of it depending on the feedback that we have to get through. That you want to, because I know you want to pay attention to that. But I also think if, sorry, my calendar's not, it's like, oh, there it is. It wasn't populating. We added a little bit more time for next week. And then even looking, did we schedule time? I don't see it anymore for the week of the 4th. Oh, there it is. I don't know, my calendar's okay. So yeah, we scheduled time on Thursday the 5th. And so I'm just thinking, one of the things next week we'll go through your feedback and then we're going to move into a development plan. And so I think we'll have opportunities in those 2 sessions to kind of talk through some of the other things. But we can always book more time. So don't, we'll make sure that we're not skipping ahead because there's more information here.
Okay. Do you have enough information for me to
For now,
continue?
yeah. For now, yeah.
Okay.
How you feeling? Is that okay? We went through all that?
Yeah. How much did we get through? What percent of the thing?
Let's look. We got through the main front section, right? Is let's see. Let me just tell you how many are left. How's that?
Okay.
Maybe we didn't get through a lot, but
Like half?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 more that we did not get through that are kind of that level of question. And then there was the ones on like leadership and motivation that were, are you a visionary, a coach? Are you a
Yeah.
and then the final section was key strengths.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And
So do I just talk too much? Do we need timers for these?
No. You do not. This is and we probably got into some of the the meat of coaching too in this, which is fine because we already got the answers. Really, the premise for this meeting was just for me to interview you and not get the context. So, and you've already given me all of that in email. I mean, in the survey form. So we got everything we needed out of this one. It just was helpful to kind of start talking through that stuff to get more color.
Yeah.
So that we can so I can keep building in my head kind of some thoughts for when we get to the development plan and stuff. But
good. Maybe I answered some of the other ones, like in some of it. Maybe.
Yeah, you did great. It was really helpful. And we'll get plenty of other time. So, thanks for your time this morning. Sorry about the tech stuff.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
We will. And I know you got lots of work to do. So
I'm going to get the organizational structure stuff maybe together to get to you.
That'd be great.
Have my positive things about my
you don't yet, you said, or you
do. I
okay.
do.
Do you want to send it in an email or screenshot or just text it or whatever you have?
Yeah, I did it on the computer, so I can just send it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Anything else I'm supposed to be doing?
No, you're such a A+ student.
Ooh, I gotta get it done. Okay.
Okay. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Talk to you soon.
Bye, girl.
Bye.